We did it again. I got first place at Carta Magica's most recent online tournament Red Zoro, and I cannot be more happy right now. My deck list is a little unusual, so I owe you an explanation, but before we get into that, I want to give some shoutouts. First, shout out to my Patreon and patrons. Ever since creating the Patreon, I feel like I've just become significantly more analytical with the game, and it's really improved my gameplay. And I also appreciate all the messages about me helping people with my articles and stuff, because it made me really feel like I could still do this tournament stuff. And surely enough, I did cop another win, so that's very fire. And then next up, I want to give a huge shout out to my sponsor, Eminent Sir Tournament Software. And without them, I would not be able to host my online tournaments, and I wouldn't be able to attend all my tournaments. I generally don't get into online tournaments, so I have to go to in-person, and without their help, I would not be getting to all these offline tournaments in peace. So huge shout out to them. I really appreciate them. And with that being said, let's go ahead and talk about the deck list. This is the full card layout here, so I just have it laid out nice and easy. That way y'all can see the full deck list. As you can see, we have 4 Buggy, 4 Izou, 3 Gordon, 4 Makino, 3 Otama, 4 Dodon, 2 Blamenco, 3 Jozu, 1 Blocker Marco, 4-5 Cost Marco, 1 Newgate, 2 Luffy. Then for the events, we have 1 Radical Beam, 3 Guard Point, 1 Red Hawk, 2 Whitebeard Pirates, 1 Diable Jambe, 2 Fiery Doll, 3 Fire Fist, and on the end here, 2 Jet Pistol, which I should have laid out better. And this is the list, so I'm going to go ahead and talk about certain card choices here. I guess the main thing everybody wants to know, probably off the rip, is why I wasn't playing 4 Cost Brook. If you saw my stream leading up to both Gen Con and even this tournament, I was testing out 4 Cost Brook and Zoro, and I was a huge fan of it. It was absolutely disgusting. Being able to do -2k to 2 different units was absolutely fantastic, but I wasn't a fan of the card being unsearchable. If you look at Jackson's first place list, he did play like the 1 of 4 Cost Brook, and he did happen to see that Brook, so that was very good for him, but I wasn't really confident in my ability to just like hard draw into 4 Cost Brook. So instead of playing 4 Cost Brook, I decided to play Blamenco instead, which, yo, I don't know how to put this up to the camera, but I played Blamenco here, which does, on swing it does -2k to 1 unit, so I played it kind of as a substitute to Brook. The reason I did it was because, one, it's searchable off of both Izou and Whitebeard Pirates, and I thought it was nice to have like another 2 cost 3k counter. Sorry, not 3k counter, 3k attacker. Because once you go against Whitebeard, you really do want to play like a 3k attacker. Turn 1 going second. So I thought it was good for both of those uses. So that's why I didn't play Brook and why I played Blamenco instead. These 1-drops are pretty standard. I think the Izou Buggy lineup is probably like the most consistent lineup straight up. Another option is like Nami and Buggy if you're going more Straw Hat focused, but I thought that this version's way better because being able to search 5 cost Marco is huge against every matchup. And Izou can also search for like our Fire Fist, and it can search for our 1 of 9 Beard or 1 of Marco. So I really like the Izou Buggy combination. And then I would almost never do Nami and Izou just because losing out on Buggy just kind of sucks. Like Buggy's a 3k attacker that can't be killed by Slash, which is very relevant in like the mirror and against law and stuff like that. So I think that's just the key combo there. Next up, I have 3 Gordon. Dude, Gordon is cracked. Like, I feel like people really do underrate Gordon's value. And I think it was a great card all day. If you're going first and you play this, like, let's say you play this turn 1 or turn 2 going first, right? Then it's turn 3. You can bot deck Gordon, and then you get to pop a 6k with 5 cost Marco. That is absolutely disgusting no matter what deck you're going against. And on top of that, Gordon was just really good against Whitebeard. Being able to kill a Rush Luffy, like just make a Rush Luffy like 3k and attack into it, is very, very huge. It's a card that I abuse against Whitebeard all day. And I think I would go no lower than 2 to 3 copies on this card. It's absolutely gross. Another common card is Magra, but I didn't include Magra because I wanted to include more Gordon just because it's so disgusting against like green. It's really good against blue, and it's really good against Whitebeard, so I thought that it was more valuable than Magra. And the one, this is normally where like my Magra space would go, probably like Gordon here, so that's the reason for that. Next up, we'll talk about all the 2Ks. I decided to go with 4 Makino. I do run no Magra, but I still wanted like a plus 3k buff, so I think 4 Makino was like the priority on my forward. Next up, I have 3 Otama. Zorolas typically run 3 Otama, but since I was already using 3 Gordon, I thought it was fine to use 3 Otama, so this is like 6 debuffs in total. If I did want to add like a 7th debuff card, it would probably be like a 4th Otama before 4th Gordon, just because I really like, I really do like 2K, so that would probably be that. But that's the reason I have 3 Otama. And then lastly, I have 3 Jozu. Somebody actually asked me on my Patreon, they said, why did you do 3 Jozu and not 2 Jozu, 4 Otama? I just really like that Jozu searchable off of both Izou and Whitebeard Pirates. And due to the ban, Whitebeard Pirates actually got like The Whitebeard Pirates search actually got kind of nerfed, right? Because before you could look for like 4 cost Marco, now you can only look for 1. So being able to have like a 2K as like extra defense that's searchable off of Whitebeard Pirates is absolutely huge. So that's the reason for the 2K lineup. Let me line this up real quick. Next up, 2-drop. Dodon's pretty staple. There's Blamenco here. I already kind of talked about this. I didn't want to play 4-cost Brook, so that's the reason I used Blamenco. And the reason I would use either 4-cost Brook or Blamenco in the first place is because the debuff is just really strong. Post banlist, 8-cost Kid is a much stronger deck, even though many people don't seem to be playing it for whatever reason. Like 8-cost Kid and Film can become way stronger. So I wanted to include Blamenco, that way I could have like resistance against those decks. When I was at Gen Con, I played against an 8-cost Kid player, and I only won because I had Fiery Doll out of life. Granted, I did whiff twice, but the Fiery Doll is what like got me the game, and I just could not keep up with their board just because I didn't have enough debuff cards. So I thought Blamenco would be really good in that matchup. This card's also really good if you see it against Doflamingo. It's an attacker, and it makes it very convenient to clear their like 5K or rested 5K or 6K attackers. So it's very nice against blue. I only played against Doflamingo once, and I played against green 0 times. So this card didn't see much use today, but I think it's really good in those cases. And I think the 3K stat line is very good against Whitebeard as like a turn 1 play going second. And I also think this is good against Whitebeard if played at the right time as well. So this will probably stay at the deck and at like 1 or 2 copies, but I will admit it did not see too much use today because I just didn't play against blue or green, right? So if you want to, this could also potentially be Magra. But I feel like this card's very important to like the Whitebeard Pirate count, and being a debuff is really strong against green and blue, as I said. 1 4-cost Marco and 4 5-cost Marco. This is just essential to the whole Whitebeard Pirates engine. 5-cost Marco in particular is very strong against the mirror. It's strong against black. It's pretty much strong against every deck except like Doflamingo going second. Going second, you don't really get an opportunity to play this against Doflamingo because it'll just get bot decked. So it's normally better to just not play it. But it's pretty much just strong against every matchup. Combos really well with Gordon. It basically turns into a Jet Piss when you combine it with Gordon because that's minus 3K. And this combo's staying here, bro. Like, even if I were to convert to Nami and Buggy, I would still play 4 5-cost Marco. This card is absolutely disgusting. And then lastly, for the Whitebeard engine, I have the 1 of 9 beard. The reason I played it was for the blue and green matchup, which, as I said, I only played against 1 blue and 0 green, so I didn't see much use all day. I did play it against the mirror match, but I did regret it. Like, this card is such a tempo loss against the mirror match and against, what was I going to say? Against the mirror match and law, this card's just such a huge tempo loss. Like, it kind of just sucks against those decks because, sure, you make your leader 7K, but then they just swing 7K a bunch of times. They drain your hand and they establish board while you took a turn off of attacking them, right? Because on the turn you 9 beard, you don't want to swing your Marcos and stuff because they're only swinging for 6 and not 7, and then the opponent can just attack into them instead of leaders. So it does kind of suck against the red mirrors, but it is really strong against blue and green, so I am likely to keep it in the deck. Just don't bother playing this card against the mirror or law, bro. It's just not worth it, bro. Next up, 2 Rush Luffy. This is probably one thing a lot of people are probably confused about. They're like, yo, why did you use 2 Rush Luffy? And honestly, this card was very strong. I'm going to be honest, I never wanted to see more than 1 copy, so it's likely that I make this 1 Rush Luffy and like 1 Rush Zoro, or maybe I'll add in a 2nd Rush Zoro, so like 1 Rush Luffy and 2 Rush Zoro, something like that. But this card was very, very strong. My logic behind doing 2 of this was that I thought it was extremely powerful against Whitebeard, just because like being 6K base is just so much stronger than being 5K base against Whitebeard, so I thought that being able to like play this first 5, swing 7 to the opponent was huge. And just being like a Diable Jambe is huge as well, because being unblockable can really just steal games against like blue, black, even Whitebeard in certain cases. So even green as well. Yeah, green as well. Just play this, leave it standing. Like, very powerful card. I think I'm gonna take it to 1 and just convert this to Rush Zoro. Then maybe even add in a 2nd Rush Zoro. But I don't want to take this card out of the deck. It was very huge all day, and it also like it clutched me up a lot. Like, I like this card a lot for sure. Next up, we have the event lineup, and you'll notice I'm running, I think it's 15 events, right? 1, 4, 5, 7, 8, 10, 13, 15. 15 events. This is an unusual count. I think people typically play like, I normally see 10 to 13 events. I personally think it's optimal to play like 12 to 14 events generally, like closer to 12 because you want more units. But I decided to go with 15 today. Mainly because I wanted to include Fiery Dawn, Diable Jambe. I definitely wanted to include at least 2 of this, because this card is extremely strong against Whitebeard. And then Diable Jambe is just very strong against like closing out games against Whitebeard or closing out games against like blue or black. So that's the main reason I went up to 15 events, because I didn't want to cut any of these, but I needed space to include this. I guess typically people don't play Whitebeard Pirates anymore, so that's how you could go down to 13 events. But I think this card's very strong, which I'll touch on in a bit. But 15 events was actually very solid. My Buggy didn't whiff like all day. Like my Buggy was going crazy all day. Like it would hit like a Fiery Doll or a Jambe, or it hit like one of my defensive events, all of that. So having 15 events was actually kind of nice. If I do reduce the event count, it won't be because I didn't like 15 events. It'll be because I want to like make space for like other stuff in the deck or stuff like that. But I was a big fan of 15 events. Fiery Doll, this card's extremely strong against Whitebeard. The main reason I play this is for Whitebeard. It can also clutch up when lethaling against like the mirror or other decks. Like just having a random plus 4k to leader is very, very strong. But the main reason for including this is for Whitebeard. And after today, I don't think I would run less than 2. If you're in Magra in your deck, then I think it's fine to take this down to like 1 maybe. But 2 was strong all day. Like I think I played 3 Whitebeards and I abused this card against Whitebeard. Diable Jambe. Diable Jambe was very interesting. I think there were a lot of situations where I could have used it, but I didn't need to use it. So it felt win more most of the day. But I think the theory is definitely there. I think it could really clutch up against blue and black. I didn't really need it today, so I'm kind of like iffy on whether I'll include it or not, because I didn't really use it all day. But I do think it's very strong in theory. And there were situations where I could use it. I just put myself in such an advantageous position to where it was kind of like win more. But I think it's still a very strong card. Next up, we have my defensive events. I have a total of 5 of these. I have 1 beam, 3 guard point, 1 red hawk. I think you typically see like 4 guard point and 1 beam, but I decided that I wanted to do like 3 3k counters and 2 4k counters. So that was the biggest reason for doing this. I also wanted to have a total of like 3 of the minus 10k triggers. I wanted to have more than 2, so I was like, okay, I'll just make one of these red hawk. And red hawk's ability is just really nice. Like it just lets random little units on the board catch strays, which is very convenient, right? Because you play a lot of weenies in Zoro, so the opponent wants to swing into it with their weenies, but Red Hawk just like popping one of your opponent's weenies for fun is very, very nice, because it gives them 1 less attacker that they can use to punish like, oh man, I just dropped that. To punish like a Makino or something, or punish like a Buggy or something. So I think Red Hawk's very nice. I think my one regret is I kind of want to have like 6 counter events in total. Like I would really like to add in like another Red Hawk or another guard point. I'm just struggling to find space at the moment. But oh man, I burped. But that is a change that I probably won't make. Probably add in like a 6 counter event. Next up, Whitebeard Pirates. So I have a total of 6 Whitebeard searchers in total. My Izou fell on the ground, which let me grab that real quick. Alright, yeah, so 6 in total. And I really like Whitebeard Pirates. So a lot of people are cutting it, but I feel like this card is essential for consistency reasons. Like, just having extra ways to search for a 5-cost Marco is so important, because against like almost every matchup, you want to play this card on curve. So that's the reason I chose to have at least like 6 searchers. Like, being able to have Izou hit this and then have this hit this is absolutely huge. Or just being able to have this hit this. I also hit this card out of life all day, so getting like a free Whitebeard search was very, very nice. I don't think I can cut this card, bro. I think this card buffs the mirror because you have a higher probability of seeing 5-cost Marco, and I think you're just a better deck in general when you have that higher probability of drawing into 5-cost Marcos. So I'm a huge Whitebeard Pirate stan. It does also search for our 1-ofs, like it searches for well, where'd I put it? It searches for like our 9-beard and our 4-cost Marco. So I don't know, like that's where I'm at. I don't think I can cut this card. I almost want to take this card to 3. I know Noman also ran like 2 copies in his list that he got top 8 with that Gen Con, and he was also talking about wanting to go to 3. I can't go lower than 2 on this, man. Like this card is just, I don't know, this card is just too strong to me, in my opinion. Then lastly for the events, we have 3 Fire Fist and I have 2 Pistols. So these are just removal events. As I said, I didn't play against like much blue or green all day, so I didn't really do too much with this. I did pistol Whitebeard once. Actually twice, because I did it once out of life in the finals, if you saw that. I did pistol once because I had no other plays. So I guess if you have like no other plays, like you missed out on drawing like a 5-cost Marco or something like that, it can be kind of clutch there. But this card didn't really do much all day. I think it was kind of just nice to have as an option, but I could definitely see myself taking this card to 1 and running like another Whitebeard Pirates or another counter event. That's definitely a very real possibility. And then 3 Fire Fist. This card was definitely powerful all day. Like being able to pop like 2 blockers at the very end of the game was very, very convenient. It's always a nice card in the mirror for when you want to pop like 2 1-drops because you don't want them to like Magra and Makino and do all that shenanigans. So I think Fire Fist definitely stays at 3. Pistol might go to 1 copy or even 0 because it didn't do too much all day. I mean, when you sack it out of life, it's crazy, but it's generally like kind of mediocre out of hand, so I could see myself just probably reducing to 1. And yeah, that's it for my first place Zoro deck list. I was really proud of this list. I probably will make some of the changes that I did mention, but I think it was a very solid list. Performed very well all day. My hardest matchup all day was definitely Doflamingo, so I might tech a little bit more for that. I think the tech for that is to just run like more rush units, like probably like 2 Rush Zoro, 1 Luffy or stuff like that. That's probably the best tech against Doflamingo, but deck performed very solid and I was very proud. Before I end off this video, I do want to give a few more shoutouts. Shout out to my homies Will to Win Gaming. They're always like they're always gassing me up. I'm always popping into their server to watch them like coach and test and stuff like that, and they're just very, very helpful to me. They're probably like it's definitely some of the content creators I like the most, so please check them out. I really do like them a lot. Shout out to my Discord VBY. I love you guys, bro. Like without y'all, I want to get all the constant testing, all the constant feedback. Like I feel like all of y'all have just helped me with my content, and you guys have helped me get better at the game too. So I love y'all, bro. Huge shout out to my BBY Discord. If you're not in it, please join up, bro. Like just join up, talk. I swear you'll just get better at the game just by existing there. Huge shout out to the homie Jackson Huang for like really pushing me to get to first place by getting first place at Gen Con. He was playing Nami for like 3 tournaments in a row, and he wasn't really like resulting like that. Like he was actually doing good with Nami, but I don't believe he like got any top 8s or anything. Then he messages me. He's like, yo, I want to get serious. I'm going to play Law. I said, nah, play Zoro. Homeboy takes Zoro, then gets first off the rip. So I got to give... Dude's crazy at the game. Has like 7 Luffys. I got to give a huge shout out to Jackson Huang. And shout out to the AZ boys, man. I appreciate y'all. Always testing with y'all too is always a blast. And with that being said, I'm going to just say it one more time. Join the Discord if you're not in it. Check out my Patreon if you haven't. I think I put a free Zoro article in the Patreon, so y'all can check that out. Shout out to Eminence one more time because those are my boys. They're the reason I can attend all the tournaments. And with that being said, I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.